No. Please. Stop. Sarah's choked scream blends with the frantic beeping of the monitor. A second later, Richard's slap rings out, turning the hospital room into a scene of violence. Sarah staggers, her hand instinctively clutching her belly, her tear-filled eyes fixed on her husband, the man who once vowed to protect her. But instead of shielding her, he delivers public humiliation. Nurses stand stunned. Patients in the hallway murmur. Phones are raised, capturing the moment. In the corner, Vanessa lets out a mocking laugh, its shrill edge cutting like a knife. Amid the chaos, Sarah whispers, "You hurt me. You scared our child." But Richard waves a hand. She's just exaggerating. Then the door swings open. The person who enters isn't a nurse, isn't a cop, but someone holding evidence enough to bury this millionaire's career. The sound of the slap still lingers in the stark white walls. It's like a crack, tearing apart the space meant to be the safest maternity ward in the heart of New York City. Overhead, the cold fluorescent lights cast a harsh glow, exposing every detail. Sarah's reddened cheek, her trembling hands clutching her belly, her hair falling over a face blurred with tears. The fetal monitor beeps steadily, but now it quickens, as if the tiny life inside Sarah senses the storm that just struck its mother. Eyes turn toward the hospital bed. Nurses, doctors, a few patients waiting in the hallway. Everyone witnesses, no one speaks. Richard stands there, towering, imposing in his expensive navy suit. The hand that delivered the blow still radiates heat, but his eyes are ice cold. He shows no remorse. His lips press into a flat line, as if this were just a minor lesson. To Richard, everything, people, emotions, marriage, is property to be controlled. In the corner, Vanessa, the mistress seen at high society galas, leans against the wall. Her dark hair cascades, her red lips curl into a mocking smile. Her sharp laugh echoes off the white walls, deepening Sarah's invisible wounds. Sarah can't believe this is happening in the place she thought safest. She entered this hospital hoping for protection, healing, to hear her baby's heartbeat like a song of life. But in an instant, it's become a public scene of violence. A young nurse holding a tray of medical supplies trembles. Glass vials clink against each other, threatening to shatter at any moment. Her eyes widen in fear, but her feet seem rooted to the floor. She knows this man isn't just any patient, he's a famous millionaire. One phone call could ruin any hospital worker's career. The attending doctor, a man in his 50s, grips the patient chart tightly. Deep down, he knows he must speak up, must protect his patient. But in that fleeting moment, he feels the weight of power pressing on his chest. He chooses silence, for now. Sarah chokes back a sob. A tear falls from her reddened cheek, dripping onto the cold white tiles. One question echoes in her mind. How could a husband, a future father, be so cruel? She trembles, clutching her belly, as if to form an invisible shield for the tiny life inside. Outside in the hallway, whispers begin to spread. An older woman murmurs, "She's pregnant, and he dared to do that in a hospital?" The man beside her nods grimly. The murmurs grow, mingling with the red light flashing from a raised phone. Someone is recording. The air in the room grows heavy. Every breath echoes. Everyone waits for something, a justification, a protest, an intervention. But Richard stands tall, takes a deep breath, and waves his hand, as if it's all a trivial detail. "Just a flick of the hand," he says in a low, raspy voice, loud enough for the room to hear. Nothing serious. His words hit like a second blow not to Sarah's cheek, but to her dignity. They dismiss the violence, trying to turn truth into farce. And worse, Vanessa laughs loudly, chiming in. "Exactly. She always overreacts." Sarah looks up, her eyes red and brimming with tears, staring at the man who once vowed to protect her. Her voice trembles, but each word carries undeniable pain. "You hurt me. You scared our child." The room falls silent. Witnesses in the hallway hold their breath. A few nurses exchange angry glances. The monitor beeps rapidly, each pulse urging action. And then, at the peak of tension, the hospital room door swings open. A figure stands tall under the hallway's light. His steps are steady, his eyes cold and piercing, scanning the room. Sarah lifts her head, her lips trembling as she utters a single word, a mix of hope and suppressed fear. "Dad." The door closes behind him with a heavy thud, like a period marking the end of the room's indifferent silence. The man stands there, needing no introduction, no business card. His eyes say it all. A seasoned warrior of the corporate battlefield, now simply a father stepping in to face his daughter's nightmare. He wears a simple dark suit, but its understated elegance makes him stand out in the tense room. His broad shoulders and steady steps add weight to the already thick air. Under the hospital's cold lights, his weathered face bears the lines of years carrying family and business burdens, but his eyes burn with undeniable strength, filled with resolve and restrained fury. Sarah looks at him, her tear-filled eyes sparking with hope. Her whispered, "Dad," is a plea, a lifeline when everything is crumbling. Richard raises an eyebrow, eyeing the man with arrogance. He shows no fear, instead smirking. His suit is flawless, tie perfect, shoes gleaming under the lights, all projecting power and confidence. But his smile carries mockery, as if anyone's presence is just a minor obstacle to be bought or crushed. "And who are you?" Richard drawls, raising his voice to drown out the monitor's rapid beeps. "A doctor? A patient? Or just some old man meddling in others' family matters?" The room tenses. All eyes turn to the father, awaiting his response. But he doesn't answer immediately. He steps forward, standing beside his daughter's bed. He places a hand on Sarah's shoulder, warm and steady, like a fortress. Sarah trembles but feels her blood warm, as if infused with strength. When he speaks, his voice booms, calm but heavy as lead. "I'm no doctor, I'm no patient. I'm her father, and I'm here to tell you, no one touches my daughter." His words cut through the room like a blade. A few nurses exhale, as if someone finally broke the silence barrier. In the hallway, witnesses by the small window whisper louder, and more phones rise, capturing every second. Richard laughs. His dry, mocking laugh echoes. "You think you can protect her? Do you know who I am? I could buy this hospital in a day. One little slap, and you turn it into a tragedy." "Ridiculous." Vanessa joins in, her high-pitched laugh like shattering glass, bolstering Richard's arrogance. She steps from the corner, arms crossed, eyes gleaming with mockery, as if this were a show she'd long awaited. The father doesn't laugh or rage. He tilts his head, locking eyes with Richard, and replies slowly, "You can buy buildings, you can buy silence, but you can never buy the truth." A ripple of murmurs spreads through the hallway like a wave. The word truth echoes in every mind, shaking the wall of power Richard tried to build. Sarah sobs, grasping her father's hand. Her trembling fingers are steadied by his unwavering strength. In that moment, she no longer feels alone. Richard smirks again, but this time it's strained. His eyes flick to the raised phones, to the nurses' angry glares, to the patients' and staff's disdain. For a fleeting second, he senses danger, but he masks it, raising his voice to regain control. "Enough," he says. "This is a family matter. It concerns no one here. I suggest everyone stay out of it if you value your jobs and reputations." His threat hangs heavy, but it's less effective now. The silence isn't absolute anymore. A nurse mutters, "A family matter? In a hospital? In front of us?" An elderly patient shakes her head, whispering, "No, this isn't just family. This is violence." The father holds Richard's gaze. He knows every word, every action now will be etched in the witnesses' memories. This isn't just a conversation. It's a battle between power rooted in money and truth rooted in justice. The room falls quiet again. The monitor's beeps echo like a drumbeat. Sarah sits, eyes wide, heart pounding. Her hand grips her father's, clinging to his fingers, as if only they keep her standing against the storm. Richard adjusts his suit collar, a confident gesture, but his lips twitch. He takes a deep breath, ready to strike back. But before he can speak, a metallic clank rings out. All eyes turn to the father. He's just placed a thick folder on the metal table beside the bed. The sound echoes like a bell, signaling an inevitable confrontation. Sarah startles, eyes widening. Richard hesitates, then frowns. Vanessa stops laughing, her eyes flashing unease. What's in that folder? And what could it hold to shake Richard's empire of power? The clank of the folder echoes in the cold white room, like a bell tolling the end of Richard's web of excuses. No one speaks. Only the monitor's rapid beeps mix with Sarah's trembling breaths, creating a tense undercurrent. The father stands still, his hand on the folder, not rushing to open it. He lets the heavy silence sink into everyone present. Like a seasoned general, he knows waiting can exert more pressure than words. Richard's frown deepens. His mocking smile fades. He hates this silence. In his world he controls. People obey, nod, and fear his commands. But now, the eyes in the room aren't just trembling. Some are skeptical, some are angry. And worst phones are still raised, their red lights blinking like unblinking eyes. Vanessa breaks the silence first. She laughs sharply, hiding her unease with a shrill voice. Oh, how dramatic. A folder? What's next? A fairy tale? The father lifts his head, his cold eyes locking onto Vanessa. He doesn't respond to her. Instead, he slowly opens the folder. Pages rustle loudly in the quiet room. The first page is a color photo. Not an artistic shot or a polished portrait like those Richard flaunts in the press. It's a blurry phone snap. It shows Sarah's arm, covered in purple bruises. Finger marks are unmistakable. A gasp rises from the nurses. An elderly patient in the hallway whispers, "My God." The father says nothing, flipping to the second page. Another photo bruises on her shoulder. The third page, a printed text message, chilling words. "If you dare speak, I'll keep the baby. I swear." Sarah chokes back a sob, instinctively shielding her belly, tears streaming. Her father's hand stays firm on her shoulder, keeping her from collapsing. Richard freezes. For a moment, his smug smile vanishes. He steps back slightly but quickly regains composure. "That's fabricated," he growls, voice hoarse. "That trash proves nothing. Everyone knows women exaggerate." But his voice lacks its usual certainty. A tremor betrays the fear he tries to hide. The father tilts his head, his voice low and cold as steel. "You really think you can deny this? These are photos. These are messages. This is the truth you've hidden behind your polished facade. You think money can cover bruises, but it can't erase evidence." Outside, the hallway buzzes. A young man whispers, "I recorded the slap. It all matches now. No denying it." Another nods, eyes blazing. Vanessa purses her lips, forcing a laugh. Those photos could be fake. Photoshop's easy these days. But her trembling voice betrays her anxiety. Sarah lifts her head, eyes teary but resolute for the first time in years. Her voice shakes but holds firm. "You hurt me. These bruises aren't illusions. And today, in front of everyone, I won't stay silent anymore." The room explodes in silence. The young nurse, trembling earlier, grips her tray tightly, eyes flashing support. A doctor nods slightly, reclaiming buried courage. Richard shouts, trying to regain control. "She's crazy. This is her family's plot to humiliate me. Don't believe a weak, emotional woman." But his words fall flat, lacking weight. The phones keep recording. The eyes are no longer fearful but angry, disdainful. The father flips to the final page, a copied email. His voice rings out, reading each word clearly. "If you dare open your mouth, I'll make sure no one believes you. I have lawyers, I have money, and you have nothing." Murmurs ripple through the hallway. Another patient whispers, "Listen." He admitted it himself. The guilt's written plain. Richard stands frozen, sweat beading on his forehead, face paling. Vanessa steps back, her red lipstick stark against her pale face. Sarah grips her father's hand, her voice choked but clear. "No, I don't have nothing anymore. I have the truth. And today, I have everyone standing here." A heavy silence falls. Then, from the hallway, a lone clap sounds, hesitant but firm. A nurse joins in, then another. The applause grows, echoing through the floor, affirming that Richard's game of power is crumbling. Richard clenches his fists, eyes flashing fury. He steps towards Sarah, growling, "Shut up. Don't humiliate me in front of everyone." The monitor beeps frantically, signaling rising danger. Sarah shrinks back, heart pounding. But before Richard can touch her, another figure steps in front of him. It's the attending doctor, silent until now. He lifts his head, eyes resolute. "Enough. This isn't a family matter anymore. This is violence, and I won't allow it to continue in this hospital." The room erupts as the doctor stands between Sarah and Richard. He's no warrior, carries no weapon, but his upright stance and steady gaze shake the room. For the first time, someone draws a clear line. This isn't family business. It's violence, undeniable. Sarah breathes heavily, heart racing, the monitor screaming. She clutches her belly, eyes filled with fear and gratitude. Her father's hand stays firm on her shoulder, an anchor in the chaos. Richard doesn't back down. His eyes blaze, lips tight, jaw grinding. A man used to the world bowing to him, now challenged in a space he thought he controlled. "Move," he growls, voice low and rasping. "You don't know who you're dealing with." The doctor doesn't budge. He doesn't shout or curse. He responds calmly but firmly. "Here, you're not a millionaire. Here, you're just a man assaulting a patient, and I'm obligated to protect them." His words freeze the room. They strip Richard's power, exposing him as a criminal before all. The hallway buzzes louder, phones inching closer to the door. Vanessa laughs nervously, trying to diffuse the tension. "Everyone, calm down. Richard's just stressed. Let's not blow this out of..." But her voice drowns in the rising wave of outrage. Richard shoves the doctor aside, stepping toward the bed. His hand rises not for a slap, but a threatening gesture. Sarah gasps, shrinking against the bed, eyes wide with terror. The monitor screeches. A nurse yells, "The fetal heartbeat's unstable. More stress could endanger both mother and child." But Richard seems deaf to it. Rage turns him into a cornered beast. "Everyone shut up," he roars. "This is my wife, my child. No one interferes." The hallway crowd grows louder. Voices shout, "Enough! This is a hospital, not your house. We've recorded everything." The whispers turn to shouts, a wave ready to crash through the door. Sarah's father steps forward, shielding her bed. His face isn't just stern, it burns with fury. "You've crossed the line, Richard," his voice thunders. "Touch my daughter again, and everything in this folder goes public immediately. The press will know. And your career ends here." Day. Another one. In not a ground. Richard pauses, his raised hand trembling. But instead of retreating, he laughs mockingly, the sound distorted. "Go public. Do it. You think a few papers can take me down? I have lawyers. I have money. I have a system behind me. You are nothing." His words die as the door swings open again. Two hospital security guards enter, eyes hard, voices firm. "Step back immediately. This is a patient area. You're endangering lives." Their presence pours fuel on the fire. Richard spins, shouting, "You dare escort me out? I fund this hospital. I'll sue every one of you." As he rages, Sarah trembles, tears streaming. She whispers, barely audible except to her father, "Please protect my baby." Her father grips her hand. He looks at Richard, then the guards, his voice no longer a warning but a declaration. "He's not just a husband, he's an abuser, and now he's threatening our child's life. If you don't act, I'll call the police myself." His words hit like a hammer. The hallway explodes, voices shouting, "Call the police! Arrest him! We're witnesses!" Richard scans the room, seeking allies. But Vanessa retreats, face pale, lipstick cracked from stress. She's no longer laughing. The doctor clenches his fists. "I'll report this immediately. This is serious domestic violence." He turns to a nurse. "Prepare to call 911. The monitor wails. Sarah breathes rapidly, sweat beading on her forehead. But the word, police, sparks a glint in her eyes, hope after years in darkness. Richard screams one last time, voice hoarse with rage. "No one touches me, I'll crush you all." But as he lunges to grab a witness's phone, the guard sees his arms. A clatter rings out as the phone hits the floor, its screen still glowing red, recording. The chaos spills into the hallway. The guards hold Richard tightly, but he thrashes like a trapped animal, shouting, "Let me go. You'll pay for this. I'll sue this entire hospital. I'll ruin you all." But his screams no longer command. They're the desperate cries of a man losing control. The hallway is packed with patients and visitors. Eyes lock on the scene, phones rise higher, capturing every second. Red lights flash like torches, exposing the true face of the millionaire who lived behind a polished mask. Sarah sits on the bed, hand on her belly, breathing heavily but eyes steadying. Her father stands beside her, a steel shield. The doctor signals the nurses, "Monitor the fetal heartbeat. Keep the patient stable." The monitor's wails are no longer alone, they're a siren for the entire ordeal. A trembling nurse whispers, "I sent the video to my friend. It'll be online in minutes." Another nods. "Once this spreads, it'll explode." And it does. Within 10 minutes, outside the hospital, reporters gather. A leaked tip from a witness, with shaky clips of Richard slapping his wife, spreads like wildfire. Messages go viral. Millionaire Richard assaults pregnant wife in hospital. The crowd outside grows noisy. News vans screech to a halt. Reporters leap out, microphones raised. Passers-by, hearing the news, join in, faces curious and outraged. Inside, Richard feels the storm brewing. His phone buzzes incessantly. Security checks it, revealing a flood of notifications, missed calls from partners, urgent texts from lawyers, emails from his company's board. Sweat drips down his forehead. He tries to sound firm, but his trembling fingers betray panic. "You think a few clips can take me down? I have lawyers. I have power." Sarah's father steps closer, eyes icy. He speaks slowly, each word deliberate. "You're wrong, Richard. Power isn't what you shout to make people believe. Real power is when the truth stands with someone, and right now, the truth stands against you." Sarah looks at her father, eyes teary but trusting. She knows this moment is the start of a bigger fight, not just in this hospital room, but out there, under millions of watching eyes. A phone rings, loud enough to drown the monitor. Security answers on speaker when the caller ID shows, "Main investor." A cold voice echoes, "Richard, we demand you step down from your executive role until this is resolved. Upcoming contracts are on hold. The company can't be tied to this scandal." The room falls silent. Richard's face pales, eyes wild. "No, you can't. I built everything. His voice breaks, choked. Vanessa, still in the corner, hides her panic by pursing her lips. Her mocking smile is gone. Her eyes flash fear for herself, now dragged into this vortex. Outside, the hallway chants, "Justice! Justice!" The shouts echo, spreading like a wave. Nurses, patients, strangers who never knew Sarah now stand with her. Sarah sobs, gripping her father's hand. "Dad, I never thought it would all come to light like this." Her father looks at her, eyes softening, hand patting her shoulder. "This is just the beginning, Sarah. From now on, you're never alone." Richard struggles against the guards, shouting one last time, "I'll fight back. I'll sue you all. You'll regret this." But the hallway's chants drown him out. A nurse turns to the doctor, whispering, "Should we call the police now?" The doctor nods, resolute. "Call them. This isn't just internal, it's a crime. And crimes face the law." Phones keep recording, capturing the moment a millionaire, once celebrated, turned into a public criminal under the bright light of truth. Sarah sheds another tear, but not from fear. It's a tear of release. In her heart, she whispers to her baby, "From today, Mommy promises, no one will hurt you anymore." Outside, police sirens wail, distant yet nearing, signaling justice is coming. The sirens echo through the streets like a bell of change. The crowd outside the hospital stirs, then falls silent as two police officers step into the lit hallway. Flashing blue and red lights reflect off the sterile white walls, turning the quiet space into a stage where justice is about to unfold. Inside, the guards still hold Richard. He thrashes, shouting, but his strength no longer intimidates. His cries of, "I'll sue you all," sound like the desperate wails of a man losing control. The door opens. Two officers enter. One, a woman with hair tied neatly under her cap, scans the room with sharp eyes. The other, a tall man, speaks in a deep, commanding voice. "We've received a report of domestic violence in this hospital. Who's involved?" No one needs to answer. All eyes turn to Richard, pinned in the center. Phone lights from the hallway illuminate his sweating forehead and bloodshot eyes. Sarah sits trembling on the bed, hands on her belly. Her father stands beside her, gripping her shoulder. The doctor steps forward, direct. "He slapped his pregnant wife, right here. There are plenty of witnesses." The fetal monitor shows distress from the stress, and his eyes harden. It's all been recorded. A witness in the hallway raises a phone. "We have the video. Want to see it?" The female officer steps over, glancing at the screen. Within seconds, she nods, voice firm. Enough to open a case. Richard screams, "This is a setup, a smear campaign. I'll call my lawyer now." He reaches for his phone, but the guards hold him tight. The male officer steps closer, calm but unyielding. "Mr. Richard, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You're under arrest for assaulting your pregnant wife and endangering the fetus." The room freezes. His words, a resounding indictment. The hallway erupts in chatter. Some cheer. Finally, justice. "Take him away." Vanessa, cowering in the corner, pales. She shouts, "Wait, it's not violence, just a misunderstanding." Sarah always overreacts, but her voice is drowned by boos and jeers from the hallway. She's complicit. "Enough, we all saw it." Sarah looks at Vanessa, her eyes no longer trembling but filled with contempt. For the first time, she's unafraid of her husband's mistress. She speaks softly, but loud enough for the room. "You laughed when I was hit. That's not a misunderstanding. That's the truth." A wave of angry murmurs rises. The female officer glances at Vanessa, eyes warning. "You'll come with us for a statement." Vanessa gapes, her lipstick pale, speechless. Sarah's father pulls a thick envelope from his bag, handing it to the police. Here are copies of threatening texts, photos of past injuries, and emails, all tied to him. The male officer takes it, nodding firmly. "Thank you, sir. This will be key evidence." Richard laughs bitterly, voice distorted. "You think you can touch me? I have the best lawyers in this city. I'll sue for defamation." Sarah's father locks eyes with him, voice icy. "Hire your lawyers. But you forgot some things money can't buy, and today, the truth is out. You have nowhere to hide." Sarah sheds tears, but not from fear. They're tears of release. She whispers, lips trembling, "My child won't live in darkness anymore." The female officer turns to the guards. "Take him out." The guards drag Richard toward the door. He thrashes, screaming, "I'll be back. You'll regret this." But the hallway's angry chants drown him out, and dozens of phone lights capture his disgrace. Vanessa follows, her heels clicking on the tiles, each step heavy with shame. The hospital door slams shut, leaving a heavy silence inside. Sarah sits, clutching her belly, breathing heavily. Her father sits beside her, hand strong on her shoulder. "You did well," he whispers. "This is just the start, but you're not alone anymore." The doctor checks the monitor, smiling with relief. The fetal heartbeat stabilizing. The baby's safe. The room sheds its weight. A nurse covers Sarah with a blanket, eyes full of empathy. Some in the hallway linger, peering through the glass, faces showing admiration. They know they've witnessed not just violence, but a woman standing against power. Outside, flashbulbs flare, reporters swarm. The news spreads uncontrollably. From one slap in a hospital room, the truth becomes a storm sweeping the city. The hospital doors close behind Richard, but the noise outside persists. Dozens of reporters wait, microphones raised, cameras flashing. Richard, pale and disheveled, is led out in cuffs under blinding lights. Every step is captured from countless angles. "Mr. Richard, any comment on assaulting your wife? She's pregnant, why did you hit her? Are you worried your career's over?" He ducks his head, shielding his face, but the reporters shouts, crowds boos, and camera lights batter him, stripping away the successful businessman facade he built. Vanessa trails behind, pale, struggling in her heels. A reporter shoves a mic in her face. "You're Richard's mistress, right? Were you there during the assault? Did you laugh when Sarah was hit?" The question cuts like a knife. Vanessa freezes, lips trembling, silent. Cameras zoom in, catching every second of her discomfort. Inside, Sarah sits on the bed, hearing the chaos outside through the glass. She shudders. Her father sits beside her, hand steady on her shoulder, voice warm. "You don't need to look out there. Let me face the world. Your job is to rest, keep you and the baby safe." But Sarah knows, even if she looks away, the world has seen everything. The clip goes viral in minutes, spreading like an unstoppable fire. On Twitter, #Justice for Sarah trends at the top. Thousands of angry comments flood in. "Hitting a pregnant woman in a hospital? Unacceptable." Justice must be served. No one's above the law, not even millionaires. Sarah, we stand with you. But amid the support, cruel comments surface. She's probably just after his money. The rich are always targeted. This feels staged. Cameras were too ready. Social media is never one-sided. Sarah becomes the focal point. Every tear, every tremble, is dissected, analyzed, even distorted. Her father quietly checks his phone, reading updates. He knows the real battle is just beginning, not just in court, but in the court of public opinion, where the public becomes the judge. A breaking news segment airs on CNN in the hospital hallway. Real estate mogul Richard arrested after allegations of assaulting his pregnant wife. Witness videos and images spread rapidly online. Partner companies have announced a suspension of dealings. Richard's conglomerate stock plummets in today's trading session. Sarah watches the small wall-mounted TV. She sees herself sitting on the hospital bed, tears falling, hand on her belly. Her most private, painful moment is now a symbol of a justice movement. Emotions swirl, relief that the truth is out, but fear at her life exposed to millions. She whispers, "They see everything. My weakness." Her father turns, eyes firm. "No, they see your strength. This raw truth is what makes the public believe." And that's what Richard fears most. Outside, Richard's lawyer appears, reading a statement. "My client denies all allegations. He's the victim of a conspiracy to ruin his career. The video was edited and will sue for defamation." The crowd boos, but the statement airs, sowing doubt. Some online argue, could it really be edited? No verdict yet. We can't judge. Sarah's father clenches his fist, eyes blazing. He knows Richard won't rely on money alone. He'll use media, lawyers, legal loopholes to turn the victim into a liar. Sarah breathes heavily, clutching her belly. She knows, though Richard is arrested, he still wields power, influence. To protect her child, she must stand not just against one man, but the machine behind him. In the hospital room, the monitor returns to a steady rhythm, a hopeful melody. But outside, the world splits. Some demand justice for Sarah, others sow doubt. That night, justice for Sarah dominates social media. The media calls it the most shocking domestic violence scandal in America's elite this decade. Sarah closes her eyes, filled with worry but fueled by resolve. She knows tomorrow, she won't just be a victim. She'll be a witness, a voice for herself and her unborn child. 2 days after the hospital incident, Sarah is discharged. She sits in her father's black SUV, eyes quietly fixed on the window, avoiding the cameras waiting outside. Reporters swarm, microphones raised, questions echoing. "Sarah, were you really abused by your husband? Are you afraid Richard's career will destroy you? Will you testify in court?" Each question stabs like a knife. Sarah shrinks into the seat, hand on her belly. Her father places a hand on her shoulder, voice firm. "You don't owe anyone answers. Focus on your health and the baby. Leave the rest to me." But Sarah knows it's not that simple. Hours after leaving the hospital, TV and social media flood with breaking news from Richard's side. A press conference is held at his elite law firm. Sitting beside his silver-haired commanding lawyer, Richard appears in a pristine suit, face composed, no trace of the hospital's panic. "My client," the lawyer begins, "is the victim of a planned conspiracy. The viral video shows only part of the truth, edited and exaggerated. Sarah, his wife, has a history of mental instability due to pregnancy. In the past, she's shown erratic behavior, even threatening Richard. We have evidence." A large screen plays blurry clips. Sarah at a party, face flushed, arguing heatedly with Richard. A recording follows a woman's cries and screams, said to be Sarah. The lawyer holds up printed emails. "These are threatening messages from her phone." Reporters clamor, some nodding, others skeptical. The news spreads, splitting public opinion. Maybe she's really unstable. No way. He's rich. He's buying everyone off. Where's the truth? Sarah watches the live broadcast in her father's living room, face pale, lips trembling. "They're turning me into a liar." Her father stands behind, jaw tight, voice heavy but resolute. "This is the dirty campaign I expected. Richard won't go down easily, but don't be afraid. The real evidence is on our side." Sarah chokes. "But those recordings, I've never heard them. I never sent those emails. Her father nods. They're fabricated. I'll have forensic experts analyze them. Once the truth comes out, they'll backfire on him. On social media, the battle rages. One side defends Sarah with number justice for Sarah. Another spreads numbers set Richard free, claiming she staged it to ruin him. On YouTube, videos dissect the hospital clip, analyze pregnant women's psychology, even twist it to say Sarah was acting. Pressure mounts hourly. Sarah can't leave the house without paparazzi. Talk shows debate. Is this real abuse or elite drama? One evening, Sarah sits in her room, the dim yellow light casting shadows on her tired face. She opens her phone, reading hundreds of messages. Some encourage, "You're not alone, stay strong." Others cut, "Liar, you ruined a family." Tears fall onto the glowing screen. Her father steps in, silently placing a stack of documents before her. Preliminary forensic report. Richard's clips were edited. The emails came from a shadow server. We have proof. Sarah looks up, eyes teary but hopeful. "Really, Dad?" He nods firmly. "Justice isn't quick, but it's coming. You just need to stay strong to see this through." Outside, city lights flicker. In that room, Sarah realizes she's not just fighting for herself, she's fighting for her child, and for every woman silenced by power and money. The first hearing arrives. New York's sky is gray, clouds heavy, mirroring the city's tense mood. Outside the federal courthouse, reporters, cameras, and protesters pack the steps. One side holds signs, "Justice for Sarah." The other, "Richard is innocent." Two waves of opinion clash on the courthouse steps, turning the solemn space into a public battlefield. Sarah steps from the SUV. Her hair is tied neatly, face pale but eyes resolute. She wears a simple navy dress, hand on her belly, a reminder of the life growing inside. Her father walks beside her, eyes steady, shielding her from hostile gazes. Cameras flash relentlessly. Reporters shout, "Sarah, can you prove Richard abused you? Can you win against his legal team? Are you afraid the public will turn on you?" Sarah doesn't answer. She walks slowly but surely, each step a declaration. "I won't back down." The courtroom doors close, shutting out the chaos. No more shouting crowds, no more blinding flashes. Only cold lights, long wooden benches, and the heavy air of justice waiting to be decided. Richard sits at the opposite table, in a dark suit, tie perfect, face calm but eyes smug. Beside him are four of New York's top lawyers, each known for twisting truth with words. As Sarah enters, Richard's eyes scan her, a smirk forming. Not a greeting, but a silent message. "You won't escape me." The judge bangs the gavel, voice resounding. The hearing begins. Richard's lawyer rises first, tall and sleek, voice smooth as silk. "Your Honor, my client, Richard, is a respected businessman, a model citizen, and the victim of a conspiracy. The viral video was edited. His wife, Sarah, suffered severe mental instability during pregnancy. She has a history of erratic behavior, even self-harm. This isn't abuse, it's a misunderstood tragedy." The room murmurs. Sarah freezes, nails digging into her palms. Those accusations twist like a knife, turning her from victim to suspect. Her father places a hand on her shoulder, eyes signaling, "Stay strong." Sarah's lawyer stands, a middle-aged woman with a sharp voice, each word firm. "Your Honor, we have unedited videos from multiple witnesses, proving Richard slapped his wife in the hospital. We have medical records showing the fetus was directly affected by the stress. And we have emails and texts, verified by forensic experts, proving they're not fabricated." She pauses, pointing at Richard. He's no victim. He's an abuser who hid his actions behind a polished facade for years. Only when public light shone did the truth emerge. The room stirs. Richard purses his lips, fingers trembling on the table. The judge bangs the gavel, demanding silence. Then he looks at Sarah. "Mrs. Sarah, would you like to address the court?" The room falls silent. All eyes turn to her. Sarah takes a deep breath, hands clasped to stop trembling. She stands, voice choked but resonant. "Your Honor, I stayed silent too long. I believed enduring, staying quiet, would keep my family safe. But that slap in the hospital broke everything. I wasn't just scared for myself, but for my child. I can't let my baby grow up in violence and fear." Today, I stand here, not just to protect myself, but to speak the truth for every woman forced to stay silent. Her voice shakes, but her eyes burn. Some in the courtroom nod, a few women wipe tears. Richard laughs sharply, a dry sound. Touching. But who knows what's real and what's theater? The judge turns to him, voice stern. Mr. Richard, speak out of turn again, and I'll order you to be silent. Richard bites his lip, his smile gone. The hearing continues with fierce arguments. Richard's lawyers grill witnesses, seeking cracks. Sarah's lawyer counters with verified evidence. The air is taut, each word a dart aimed at the opponent's heart. When the judge's gavel falls to end the day, no one knows which side will prevail. But one thing is clear. This isn't just a domestic violence case. It's a public battle, where America watches truth and justice face off against money and power. The night after the hearing, the city doesn't sleep as a new media storm hits. Richard, despite public backlash, plays his final cards. On primetime TV, a special report airs, sourced from someone close to Richard. It claims Sarah isn't the perfect wife the public thinks. The anchor speaks gravely. We've received exclusive information showing Sarah's history of mental instability and controversial actions. Is this the truth the public doesn't know? The screen shifts. A distant relative of Richard appears, speaking to the camera. I've heard Sarah scream, smash things at home. Once, she injured herself and blamed Richard. She always wanted to control him. Another blurry clip plays. Sarah at a party years ago, crying and shouting. No context, no explanation, but enough to sow doubt. Twitter explodes. Number doubt Sarah trends. Cruel comments resurface. Maybe she did stage it. We've only seen half the story. What if Richard's the victim? Cruel comments. Sarah watches the broadcast in her father's living room, face pale, breathing fast. Dad, I didn't do these things. I never. Her father slams the remote down, voice heavy. This is their dirty tactic. Richard wants the public to doubt you, to turn you from victim to liar. But we won't let him win. The next day, Richard's lawyer presents new evidence. Medical bills for sedatives and psychiatric visits from years ago, when Sarah suffered mild depression after a miscarriage. The lawyer speaks boldly. Your Honor, these medical records show Sarah's mental instability. Can her accusations today be trusted? The courtroom erupts. Sarah sits frozen. She doesn't deny it. Yes, she took medication, fell into darkness after losing her first child. But that private pain is now dissected publicly, weaponized to destroy her. Some in the courtroom look at her with doubt. Richard, across the room, smirks triumphantly. Tears well up, but Sarah doesn't crumble. She takes a deep breath, facing the judge. Yes, I was depressed. Yes, I took medication, but that's no reason for a man to hit his pregnant wife. I was weak once. That doesn't mean I'm lying today. I lost one child. I won't let the baby in my womb share that fate, because I stayed silent. The room stills. Some women nod, eyes teary. The judge taps the gavel, calling for order. Sarah's lawyer stands, countering. Your Honor, a woman's past depression doesn't justify domestic violence. We have forensic proof that Richard's clips were edited, and we have a direct witness from the hospital, ready to testify. The courtroom door opens. A young man, the one who recorded in the hospital, steps in. He's nervous but resolute. I have the full, unedited video. I'm ready to submit it to the court. Richard pales. He didn't expect the clip to survive intact. Vanessa, behind him, covers her mouth, lipstick faded. Sarah looks at the witness, tears falling but a faint smile forming. For the first time in days, she feels she's not alone. The trial continues with heated arguments. But Richard's grip is slipping. His trump card, Sarah's past, can't overshadow the truth. When the judge's gavel falls to end the day, public opinion splits again. But Sarah's supporters grow louder. She faced her past. That's courage, not guilt. Richard's using her pain to hide his crimes. Despicable. A new hashtag spreads. Her pain is not your weapon. Sarah leaves the courthouse, hand on her belly, eyes resolute. Richard may have more tricks, but she knows. When truth is on her side, his every counterattack reveals his true nature. The courtroom glows under neon lights. Day 5 of the trial, the The air is thick, heavier than ever. The public gallery is packed, reporters jostling for space, live streaming to social media. All of America seems to await the climax of this justice battle. Richard sits at the defendant's table, face visibly worn. His expensive suit no longer lends him majesty. His eyes are shadowed, hair matted from sleepless nights. He bites his lip, fingers tapping nervously, his early composure gone. Across, Sarah sits with her lawyer. She still trembles slightly, but her eyes have changed. After days of defamation and public doubt, she's learned to breathe deeply, close her eyes, and open them with resolve. Beside her, her father sits quietly, his eyes burning with the strength of a man who's fought corporate wars, now poured into protecting his daughter. The judge bangs the gavel, voice clear. Today, we'll review remaining evidence before final arguments. Richard's lawyer dives into the attack, voice rapid and sharp. Your Honor, my client maintains that Sarah orchestrated this to ruin his reputation and seize his wealth. She knew divorce would leave her with nothing. This is a sophisticated plot, coordinated with her father, a powerful CEO. The room murmurs. Some nod, others shake their heads. Sarah's lawyer rises, voice firm. These accusations lack evidence. Instead, please review the full video provided by a witness. The lights dim. The screen plays the hospital scene. The fiery slap. Sarah staggering. Nurses trembling. The monitor shrieking. Richard shouting. Vanessa mocking. It pauses on Sarah clutching her belly, sobbing, "Please protect my baby." The courtroom's murmurs fade. No one speaks. Even doubters bow their heads. The vivid evidence needs no defense. The judge looks up, voice cold. This video has been verified as unedited. It's direct evidence. Richard's face pales. He grips his chair, forcing a smile. It was just a moment of anger. Everyone loses their temper. Sarah's lawyer seizes the moment, pointing at him. This wasn't a moment of anger. This was systematic violence, hidden for years behind a glossy facade. Only when the public's light shone did the truth emerge. Today, justice must be served. Applause erupts from the gallery. The judge bangs the gavel for order, but the truth is clear. The scales are tipping. Richard loses patience, shouting despite the judge. "She's lying. It's all a plot. I have money, lawyers. You think you can take me down? I'll destroy you all." The room freezes. His outburst isn't a threat anymore, but the cry of a man teetering on the edge. The judge's eyes darken, stern. Sarah trembles but stands, voice resonant. You can threaten with money, hide with lawyers, but today, in front of everyone, you can't erase the truth. You hit me, you scared me, and you nearly harmed our child. I won't stay silent another day. The room buzzes, then erupts in applause. Some stand, nodding firmly. Sarah, once trembling in the hospital, now stands tall, eyes blazing. Richard opens his mouth to retort, but no words come. Sweat drips down his face. For the first time, he realizes his throne of power is cracking. The judge bangs the gavel, voice firm. The court will recess before final sentencing. The room roars. Reporters rush out to break the news. Sarah sits, breathing heavily, but her eyes shine brighter than ever. She's spoken her truth, and now, justice leans toward her. Richard slumps in his chair, face gaunt, eyes vacant. He knows he's lost more than a trial. He's losing everything. The day of judgment arrives. Outside the federal courthouse, the white stone steps are packed. Cameras live stream, millions across America watching. This is no longer just a divorce or abuse case. It's a symbol of justice, battling money and power. Sarah steps from the car, her pregnant belly more pronounced after weeks of strain. She wears a simple white dress, unadorned, but her eyes blaze. Her father walks beside her, holding her hand like an unyielding wall. Cheers erupt. Justice for Sarah. Justice for women. Across, Richard appears, face haggard but still defiant. Vanessa trails behind, face stiff, dodging cameras. Instead of cheers, he faces boos and jeers. Some hold signs. Your money can't save you. The courtroom lights shine. All rise as the judge enters. He bangs the gavel, voice resolute. The court has reviewed all evidence, testimonies, and witnesses. Today, we deliver the final verdict. The air stills. Every heart pounds. The judge looks at Richard, eyes cold. Mr. Richard, you are charged with assaulting your wife, Sarah, in a public hospital while she was pregnant. Video evidence, medical records, and witness testimonies align. Forensic analysis confirms your provided clips were edited. Threatening emails were traced to a fake server set up by your PR firm. This shows a systematic effort to hide the truth and defame the victim. The room murmurs. Richard freezes, face ashen. The judge continues. Therefore, the court finds you guilty of domestic violence, endangering a life, and fabricating evidence. You are sentenced to 15 years in prison, with a multi-million-dollar civil penalty to the victim. Applause explodes. Some cry with emotion. Sarah sits stunned, tears streaming, but these are tears of release. Her father grips her hand, whispering, "You won. Justice won. Justice. You won." Richard leaps up, shouting, "No, you can't do this to me. I have money, power. I'm Richard. The judge's gavel slams. "Sit down. You have no power here." Two officers approach, cuffing Richard. He struggles, but the crowd's eyes choke him. He looks for Vanessa, but she lowers her head, avoiding his gaze. Her silence is the final blow. As he's led away, Richard turns back, eyes bloodshot, growling, "I'll be back. I'll never lose." But his words drown in the cheers. Justice for Sarah. Sarah stands. She doesn't look at Richard anymore. The sight of him being led away in cuffs closes her long nightmare. Outside, sunlight breaks through the gray clouds. As Sarah steps from the courthouse, the crowd roars with applause and tears. Some women approach, touching her hand, whispering, "Thank you for speaking for us. You gave us faith that justice exists." Sarah smiles, hand on her belly, whispering to her child, "Baby, we made it through." Her father stands beside her, voice warm but proud. "Today, you didn't just save yourself. You lit a spark for so many others." In the sunlight, Sarah lifts her head, face radiant. She stepped out of darkness, no longer a victim, but a living testament to the power of truth and justice. The story closes amid cheers, but its echo lingers. A woman once brought low now stands tall, carrying faith and freedom. As Richard is led away in cold handcuffs, Sarah closes her eyes, taking a deep breath. The months of suffering, the slaps, the lies, all finally over. But an ending doesn't erase everything. The scars will remain, forever reminding her of a marriage steeped in darkness. The difference is, today, she's no longer a victim. Sarah has stepped into the light, carrying a new faith that even in despair, there's a path to justice. Yet a question lingers. Has Richard's empire truly collapsed? Or will some force continue to shield him, turning this into a longer battle? The answer lies in part 2. Sarah's story isn't just a personal tragedy. It's a reminder for us all. When you see injustice, when you see violence, don't stay silent. A recorded video, a spoken word, can save a life. What do you think? If you were Sarah, would you choose a quiet life to heal, or become a beacon for other women? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to follow the channel for the next chapter of this journey. He traded his pregnant wife for a younger mistress, thinking he'd upgraded. He strutted into every party, arm in arm with his new flame, smirking arrogantly as if the world belonged to him. But Ryan had no idea that while he was busy flaunting his artificial life, Emma, his abandoned wife, was writing an entirely new chapter. A discreet millionaire had entered her life, cherishing her and the child she carried as if it were his own. And when they stepped into the spotlight together, Ryan would be forced to face a painful truth. The replacement he prided himself on was nothing but a shadow, while the woman he scorned was the true queen. This story will make you question, who really upgraded? Neon lights spilled across Fifth Avenue, reflecting off the glass of luxury storefronts. In a rooftop restaurant in the heart of Manhattan, Ryan Brooks sat at the best table, a glass of red wine in hand, his smug gaze sweeping the scene. Beside him was Chloe, a young Instagram model with glossy lips, her sequin dress shimmering with a false glow, as if she were the latest jewel he wanted to display. Ryan couldn't stop smiling as he caught the furtive glances from other tables. He felt their envy, or so he thought. Every smile from Chloe, every photo she snapped and posted online, was like a needle injecting fuel into his already overinflated ego. He raised his glass, leaning toward his friends at the table, his voice low as if sharing a coveted secret. "She's my upgrade." The words slipped out smoothly, but they echoed in the room like a cruel verdict. Miles away, in a modest brownstone in Brooklyn, Emma, his former wife, sat by a window, her hand resting gently on her growing belly. 6 months pregnant, her body was weary, but her eyes held a fragile resilience. The small room was filled with the scent of wet paint, unopened baby supplies, and a crib still in its cardboard box. This was once their shared dream. Now, she faced it alone. The day Ryan left was etched in her memory like an unhealed wound. He'd returned from a business trip, his face cold. His voice was clinical, like he was discussing profit margins, devoid of guilt or tremor. "I need someone who inspires me," he said, his eyes skimming her belly as if it were a burden, not his child. His bags were already packed, the door closed behind him, and Emma's world collapsed. While Emma struggled to breathe through long, lonely nights, Ryan reveled in crafting a new image. His Instagram became a gallery of extravagance: champagne on private jets, kisses in front of 5-star hotels, Chloe's Louboutin heels artfully placed on a sleek coffee table. The photos weren't just for show, they were daggers aimed at Emma's memories. He even had the audacity to tag her in one, as if ensuring she saw her own replacement. To Ryan, Emma was now the old version, a faded chapter in his life. He saw shedding their 5-year marriage as the start of a dazzling new era. In conversations, he likened himself to a pioneer, boldly breaking free from stagnation to live authentically. His friends nodded along, not out of belief, but because they fed off his generosity. But the truth was far different. In a lavish Soho apartment, where golden light glowed on walls adorned with abstract art, Ryan sat across from Chloe, oblivious to her eyes glued to her phone. Their conversations revolved around likes, sponsorship deals, or upcoming parties. She cared little for his long-term dreams, let alone the idea of a family. Yet Ryan deluded himself. He had won. He had the better version. Meanwhile, Emma lived quietly in her pain, finding solace in loyal friends. They came to her side, armed with pints of ice cream and warm hugs. They raged on her behalf, calling Ryan a narcissistic coward. But Emma didn't react. She didn't scream or sob loudly. She simply held her belly, feeling the tiny kicks of her baby, a reminder she still had a reason to go on. And in that silence, something else took root. Not hatred, but determination. Emma didn't know where her path would lead, but one thing was certain: she wouldn't let her life end just because she'd been abandoned. Out there, Ryan kept wearing his mask of happiness, basking in the illusion of victory. But he was unaware that what lay ahead would upend everything he believed. For the world has a ruthless way of balancing the scales. It grants true glory to those who deserve it most. And Emma, the woman he despised, was about to embark on a journey to rewrite her destiny. The Brooklyn brownstone nestled under a row of maples shedding their leaves. Early winter winds carried the scent of damp earth and the sad rustle of foliage. In the second-floor room, Emma sat in a rocking chair, her hand on her rounded belly, her eyes gazing out a frost-covered window. Outside, the world rushed on, cars honked, life churned, but for her, time seemed frozen since the moment Ryan shut the door. 6 months pregnant, her body felt heavy, her steps slow. But the heaviest burden wasn't her belly, it was the void in her chest. On long evenings she wondered, how could someone who promised to walk through life with her vanish so quickly? How could he look at their child in her womb and feel nothing but annoyance? The nursery, once planned with excitement, now haunted her. Unopened toy boxes, an unassembled crib, each item a reminder of the family dream stolen in one cold afternoon. Emma would step inside, look around, and cry until she was spent. Tears soaked the wooden floor, but they couldn't wash away the pain. Her friends Lena and Grace tried to fill that void. They showed up with cold ice cream, romantic movies, and tight embraces. They cursed Ryan as a spineless narcissist, damning him in every casual chat. But Emma sat quietly, eyes red, lips pressed tight. She lacked the strength for hatred. All her energy went to surviving, breathing, eating, keeping her baby safe. Some nights, her phone buzzed. A mutual friend would send a photo of Ryan and Chloe at a party, flashbulbs glinting, his smile triumphant. Emma glanced at it, then set the phone face down. The pain still stung, but she knew dwelling on those images would drown her. Instead, she wrote in a journal, blank pages filled with words not of hate, but whispers to her unborn child. She wrote of the world, her dreams, the rooftop garden she wanted to design for them. Each word was a thread stitching her torn soul, a reminder that though Ryan had left, her life wasn't over. Mornings, Emma donned a loose sweater and walked to the nearby park. She watched children play, their laughter sharp and clear, stirring both pain and hope. Pain for the family she'd lost. Hope for the day her son would laugh like that. But fear always lurked. At night, she felt like a ghost in her own home. The kitchen, once warm with laughter, now echoed with the clink of solitary silverware. The bed, once a place for shared secrets, was cold and vast. She'd wake at night, her hand reaching for the empty space beside her, then cry when reality hit. Pregnancy hormones made her moods a roller coaster. One day, she'd smile at her baby's first kick. The next, she'd stare into space for hours, overwhelmed by the prospect of raising a child alone. Her emotions were a river in flood, sometimes raging, sometimes still, but never ceasing. Emma knew she needed an anchor. Not from Ryan, not from pity, but from herself. One afternoon, after her friends left, she stepped into the nursery, wiping dust from the unassembled crib. For the first time in weeks, she touched the cardboard box, took a deep breath. "I can do this," she whispered. Not for Ryan, not to prove anything to the world, but for her baby, for herself. That night, by the window, moonlight bathed her gaunt face. She didn't know what the future held, but a faint spark glowed within her, a resolve she'd never felt before. From ashes, a small flame was kindling. A gray March morning hung over New York's northern outskirts. Emma drove her old car to a renowned nursery, hands gripping the wheel as if it were her last tether to calm. The new project she'd landed, designing a rooftop garden for a luxury Manhattan hotel, could be the turning point to prove she still existed, could still shine after her world shattered. She sought a rare Japanese maple. Its delicate red lace leaves a symbol of fragile resilience, like her own state. But when she asked, Mr. Henderson, the gruff, elderly nursery owner, shook his head. "Sold out," he rasped. "A regular took the last batch. He buys all my best stock. A recluse, but a true enthusiast. Has an estate up the Hudson." Emma forced a smile, though disappointment weighed her shoulders. She thanked him and turned to leave, her pregnant frame slowing her steps. Cold winds stung her cheeks, carrying the familiar sting of loneliness. Then a sound cut through, the low, powerful hum of a luxury car. A sleek black Bentley rolled into the lot, its body reflecting the overcast sky. Emma paused, her eyes drawn to it. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out. He wore a dark wool coat, his salt and pepper hair neat, his deep blue eyes piercing, as if they could see through anyone's facade. "Mr. Henderson chuckled softly. "Speak of the devil, and he appears. That's Daniel Hayes." Emma had heard the name vaguely, a real estate tycoon mentioned sparingly in business articles, famously private to the point of near invisibility. But seeing him in person was different. Daniel exuded a magnetism not from flashiness, but from quiet authority, like a man accustomed to commanding a world without raising his voice. "Mr. Henderson approached, his tone warm. "Emma Parker here was after those Japanese maples you took. She's a landscape architect, a real talent." Daniel's gaze shifted to Emma. In that fleeting moment, she felt seen to her core, not judged like Ryan's stares, but regarded with a depth that left her both unsettled and safe. "My maples?" Daniel's voice was low, warm, steady, sending a shiver through her. "Yes," Emma replied, steadying her tone. "I'm working on a big project. It's the centerpiece of my design. I hope to find a tree that could tell the story I want to tell." Daniel raised an eyebrow, a spark of intrigue in his eyes. "A big project? Can I see your sketches?" Emma hesitated, then pulled a small notebook from her bag. The pencil lines were unfinished but vivid, revealing her vision. A rooftop oasis amid the city, blending greenery, stone, light, and water. Daniel studied it silently, his fingers tracing the lines. When he looked up, his eyes held rare respect. "You have an artist's eye," he said. "I'd like you to see my garden. It might inspire you, or at least, You'll see the maple you're after." Emma was taken aback. An invitation from a man of such power felt like more than business. But deep within, a strange warmth spread. For the first time in months, she felt seen not as a discarded wife, but as a person of worth. Daniel's handshake was firm, warm. As his hand clasped hers, Emma felt as if she'd stepped into a new chapter, a door opening, leading her from darkness toward light. The road to the Hayes estate wound through dense forests, where century-old oaks stretched branches like a welcoming canopy. The car climbed a gravel hill, tires crunching in rhythm with nature's hum. Emma sat in the back, hands clasped, her heart a mix of excitement and apprehension. The past 6 months had been shrouded in shadow, but today felt different. Massive iron gates loomed ahead, their intricate patterns gleaming. As they parted, the sight beyond stole Emma's breath. A gray stone mansion rose on the hillside, overlooking the Hudson River's shimmering waters. Vast lawns, manicured flower beds, and wild meadows burst with color. This wasn't just a house, it was a parallel world, moving to its own rhythm. Daniel waited at the stone steps, his tall frame stark against the sky. With a slight nod and a faint smile, he offered his hand to help Emma from the car. That gentle touch eased her lingering fears. "Welcome to what I call home," Daniel said. His voice wasn't boastful, but intimate, like sharing a cherished secret. Emma followed him through a grand hallway, its high ceilings bathed in golden light, classic paintings lining the walls. But what struck her wasn't the opulence, it was the warmth. Unlike Ryan's cold penthouse, this house breathed life. Overflowing bookshelves, large potted plants, the crackle of a fireplace echoing from the living room. "This isn't a museum," Daniel smiled, catching her surprised look. "I wanted a place where nature and people coexist, not a glass case for display." They stepped into the back garden. Sunlight stretched across rare orchids, sunlit greenhouses, and, finally, a majestic Japanese maple, its crimson leaves glowing like dying embers. Emma froze. This was what she'd sought. "This tree's been here nearly a decade," Daniel said, his voice warm. "I brought it from Kyoto. They say it survives the harshest winters, only to bloom most beautifully in spring. It reminds me that resilience always leads to beauty." Emma touched the rough bark, feeling her own reflection in it battered, storm-torn, yet standing, waiting for her own spring. They walked past a bee yard, where thousands of bees buzzed diligently. Daniel spoke of natural honey, nurturing the land rather than exploiting it. His passion, rare for a man commanding a real estate empire, captivated Emma, as did his humility. At noon, they sat on a porch, a simple white-clothed wooden table before them. Lunch was toasted bread, artisanal cheese, and vegetables from the garden. No champagne, no camera flashes, just the river breeze and birdsong. Emma bit into the bread, the cheese's rich saltiness melting on her tongue, and realized how long it had been since she'd eaten a meal untainted by sorrow. As lunch ended, Daniel looked at her, his blue eyes piercing. "Emma," he said slowly, "I don't know much about your life, but I see something in you, something the busy world out there often loses. A quiet strength." But Emma shivered. For so long she'd felt weak, abandoned, pitiable. But here, under this gaze, she glimpsed another version of herself, strong, valued, worthy of respect. She didn't know how to respond, only lowered her head, her hand on her belly. Her baby kicked softly, as if reminding her she wasn't alone. For the first time in months, fear gave way to a fragile faith in the future. As Daniel drove her back, his gaze lingered longer than necessary. "I hope this isn't the last time," he said. Emma replied, her voice soft but firm. "I hope so too." The car pulled away from the gates, the long road stretching ahead. But this time, Emma's heart wasn't heavy. In the rearview mirror, the estate lingered, a promise that she'd crossed a fateful threshold. Days after the estate visit, Emma found herself in a new rhythm. She still woke early, brewed mint tea, wrote journal entries for her unborn child. But woven into her old routines was a fresh energy, as if meeting Daniel had planted a seed of hope. His first text came on a drizzly morning. "Just read a book on Japanese design. Some ideas made me think of you. Want me to send them over?" Emma smiled as she read it. It had been ages since someone cared about her creative world, not just her appearance or role as a wife. From that text, conversations grew. They started with work plants, landscape architecture, but soon turned personal. Daniel asked about her childhood, the first dream that led her to this career. Emma listened as he shared stories of lonely years after his wife's death, the emptiness of a grand house without laughter. One afternoon, they met in Central Park. The spring air was crisp, trees budding. Daniel brought hot coffee, handing her a paper cup. Extra cream, light sugar, right? Emma laughed, surprised. He remembered. A small detail, but it made her feel cherished. They walked winding paths, footsteps crunching on gravel. Daniel matched her slow, heavy pace, never rushing. There were no cheap compliments, no ostentation, just quiet companionship, as if he knew she needed peace more than anything. A strong gust made Emma stumble. Daniel steadied her with a firm, warm grip on her elbow. In that moment, she felt an unfamiliar calm. When was the last time she'd felt safe beside a man? The following weeks, Emma spent more time at the Hudson estate. Each visit was an escape from the city's suffocation. She and Daniel strolled through orchid gardens, listened as he spoke passionately about beekeeping or forest conservation. His dedication stood in stark contrast to Ryan's flashy displays. Once, by the river, Daniel asked, "Have you ever thought that being left behind was actually being set free?" Emma met his gaze, his eyes as deep as the water. The question silenced her. She couldn't deny the pain Ryan caused had torn her apart. But without that tear, would she be here, breathing this air, talking with a man who saw her so clearly? That night, back in Brooklyn, Emma opened her journal. She wrote, "Maybe loss isn't an end, but a beginning to a chapter I never dared dream of." Meanwhile, miles away, Ryan kept posting glitzy photos online. Chloe posed in vibrant bikinis by hotel pools, Ryan's arm around her like she was a trophy. Friends commented jealous or wish I were you, but it was a thin veneer hiding creeping boredom. He didn't know that while he built a virtual stage, Emma was finding real light. One late night, Daniel visited Emma, bringing peonies flowers she'd mentioned in passing at the park. "I remembered you liked these," he said, setting them on her small kitchen table. Emma froze. Once again, his gentle attention made her feel not like a shadow, but the center of a cherished world. She arranged the flowers in a glass vase, watching their petals unfurl. Her heart, frozen for months, began to open, not in a rush, not in a blaze, but in small flames, enough to banish the dark. Early spring painted New York in delicate golden sunlight. The city never slept, but amidst its chaos, Emma found a new rhythm, one of rebirth. Her Manhattan hotel rooftop garden project neared completion. Each morning, she stood among materials, sketching with charcoal-dusted fingers, her belly growing heavier. Workers initially worried, seeing a 7-month pregnant woman climbing stairs, directing every detail. But her resolute gaze and precise drawings earned their respect. As the garden took shape, a verdant oasis atop concrete, everyone saw something extraordinary. Soft grass stretched wide, the rare Japanese maple at its heart, surrounded by water pools reflecting the sky. At sunset, light danced through, turning the garden into a living painting. Emma stood there, hand on her belly, feeling gentle kicks, knowing she wasn't just building a space for the city, but rebuilding her life. Word of the garden spread. Media began mentioning Emma Parker, a bold landscape architect who overcame personal tragedy to create an iconic work. Photos of her in work clothes, sweat on her brow, standing tall in the garden, became proof of resilient strength. A week after the garden's unveiling, Emma received an invitation to the National Landscape Design Awards. She couldn't believe it. Once, she'd only hoped to birth her child safely, live quietly. Now, the world saw her differently. Through it all, Daniel was there. Not ostentatious, not overbearing, but a steady shoulder. When she stayed up late refining sketches, he brought tea and read quietly beside her. When her body ached from pregnancy, he patiently walked her through the garden, talking of seeds needing time to sprout a metaphor for her life. One evening, after Emma finished her presentation edits, Daniel arrived at the Brooklyn brownstone with a small wooden box. Inside was a silver wind chime, engraved with delicate maple leaves. "For the nursery," he said. "When the wind blows, you'll remember every storm can turn into a melody." Emma touched the gift, tears welling. It wasn't lavish, but it held care she'd never known from Ryan. In Daniel's eyes, she saw certainty. He didn't just want to walk a few steps with her, but the whole journey. The awards night arrived. Emma wore a simple flowing dress hugging her pregnant frame, hair neatly pinned, eyes bright. When her name was called, the auditorium erupted in applause. She stepped onto the stage, feeling the spotlight, her voice trembling but firm. Landscape design isn't just about creating beauty. It's about bringing hope to barren spaces. For me, this project is a reminder that from ashes, we can always build a new garden. The crowd stood, applauding. In the audience, Daniel's eyes shone not with the pride of possession, but of a man who'd found light he thought was lost forever. That night, as they left the hall, Emma turned to Daniel. "I never thought I'd stand here." He took her hand, squeezing gently. "You didn't just stand, you shone, and you were never alone." Emma smiled, guiding his hand to her belly. The baby kicked, affirming his words. In that moment, she knew she'd fully stepped out of the darkness. Ryan's Park Avenue penthouse glittered like a giant jewelry box, but the light grew harsher, reflecting a truth he didn't want to see. Behind the towering glass and lavish decor, his life was hollow. Chloe lounged on a white leather sofa, legs crossed, phone screen illuminating her face. Her fingers swiped frantically through Instagram, tweaking filters, testing poses, while Ryan clutched a whiskey glass, staring around the opulent room, feeling suffocated. Their talk circled trivialities, likes, photo shoots, trending brands. "Valencia or Clarendon for this pic?" Chloe asked, eyes vacant. Ryan forced a smile, remembering nights with Emma discussing designs, dreams of turning concrete into living gardens. He'd called it boring then. Now, Chloe's chatter trapped him in an empty loop. He drained his glass, seeking intoxication to fill the void. But instead, an image haunted him. Emma on the awards stage, belly round, eyes radiant, her voice steady. "From ashes, we can always build a new garden," Ryan choked. That wasn't the Emma he'd known. He recalled her silence beside him, enduring his belittling words. Now, the world stood to applaud her. And he, who dismissed her as a dull chapter, sat in stifling silence next to someone obsessed with a screen. He began searching Emma's name online. Articles appeared. Landscape architect redefines urban green spaces. Photos showed her glowing under sunlight, hands dirty, smiling gently. Ryan stared, a strange jealousy coursing through him. That night, he created an anonymous account, stalking Emma's private Instagram. The images hit hard. Tiny baby feet, unfinished sketches, Emma's flushed face after a day at the site. But one photo stopped him cold. Emma, in a park, beside Daniel Hayes. Ryan zoomed in, seeing Daniel's gaze not that of an investor or acquaintance, but of a man truly in love, admiring, respectful, resolute. In that photo, Emma wasn't the fragile woman he'd left, but a queen with the universe orbiting her. Rage surged. Ryan searched Daniel's name. Headlines piled up. Reclusive real estate mogul, Hudson estate owner, worth hundreds of millions. Each word cut into his fragile pride. He, who thought he'd upgraded with Chloe, saw he'd traded a priceless treasure for a cheap imitation. He leaned back, head spinning. Chloe giggled at her screen, oblivious to Ryan's crumbling world. He looked at her, then back at Emma's photos with Daniel, and for the first time in months, Ryan didn't feel victorious. He felt small, lost, left behind. Another night, as Chloe rambled about a new sponsorship, Ryan stared at the city lights through the glass. In the traffic below, he saw himself a man running endlessly, going nowhere. Emma? She walked slowly but surely, each step climbing to heights he never imagined. Ryan stood, walked to his study, opened his laptop. His trembling fingers typed Emma's name again, like an addict seeking a fix. But the more he looked, the more he was consumed by a bitter truth. She didn't just survive, she shone. And there was no place for him in that light. That morning, New York woke to a media frenzy. Headlines blared. Millionaire Daniel Hayes appears with Emma Parker set to welcome their first child. From betrayed wife to Manhattan's new queen. Photos from the previous night's gala flooded social media. Emma in a simple deep green silk dress, her pregnant belly prominent, hand clasped with Daniel's. Their shared glance was enough to send cameras into a frenzy. A clip went viral, shared millions of times in hours. Daniel's hand on Emma's belly as the host joked about him joining the busy dad's club. Daniel smiled, his voice firm. Not just Emma's child. This is our child. Our family. That simple statement was a lightning bolt, illuminating the story. The crowd erupted in applause. On Twitter, number Emma Parker and number Family of Hayes soared to top trends. Across the city, Ryan sat in his darkened office. The open glass doors revealed bustling Manhattan, but his heart was a cold abyss. His phone buzzed with messages from friends, colleagues, even sycophants, sending article links with mocking emojis. He opened one, eyes locking on a line like a knife. Emma Parker from betrayed wife to symbol of resilience. Proof that sometimes, the one who leaves is the true loser. Ryan threw his phone down, a whiskey glass shattering. Chloe stormed in from the bedroom, annoyed. What the hell, Ryan? I'm live streaming and everyone's asking about this Emma woman. What's going on? Shut up. Ryan roared, his voice echoing in the empty penthouse. Chloe froze, then muttered curses and left. But Ryan heard nothing. Daniel's words looped in his mind. This is our child, our family. While Ryan reeled, Emma lived in a different reality. The morning after the gala, she woke in the sunlit Brooklyn brownstone, Daniel preparing a simple breakfast, toast and berries. Leo, her unborn son, stirred gently, as if sensing the peace around his mother. She checked her phone, seeing a text from Chloe. Liv, you're going viral globally. Check the comments. The world's on your side. Emma scrolled through. A true queen. Stunning and strong. This is the real upgrade. Ryan's probably dying inside. Emma smiled not with vengeance, but relief, as if she'd finally escaped the dark shadow Ryan had cast. Daniel entered, setting a plate before her. Sorry if last night was too much, he said, but I didn't want the world to think you're alone. I wanted them to know you and the baby have me. Emma's eyes glistened. I've never felt so protected, she whispered. In that moment, she realized what Ryan could never do, Daniel did with a single, simple sentence. The media storm grew. Talk shows dissected Emma's story as a real-life fairy tale. Lifestyle magazines featured her on covers, praising her elegance and strength. Ryan became a laughingstock. Memes spread, his photo with Chloe captioned, "Failed upgrade." Images of Emma's radiance juxtaposed with Chloe in garish sequins created a brutal contrast. Wherever Ryan went, whispers followed. At a high-end restaurant, two diners snickered. Isn't that the idiot who ditched his wife for an Instagram girl? He clenched his jaw, unable to retort. The more he denied it, the more he was cornered. Every article, photo, comment was a slap, reminding him that Emma, the woman he'd humiliated, had soared beyond his reach. Late at night, Ryan sat alone in the dark, his whiskey bottle dwindling. On the screen, Emma glowed beside Daniel. His trembling hand reached out, as if he could pull her back. But the cold image only reflected the truth. He was nothing in her story anymore. Outside, the city shone, but in the penthouse, Ryan drowned in an inescapable darkness. The Met Gala, the year's most prestigious fashion event, loomed near. All eyes in high society turned to the night where fashion met power. Every step on the Metropolitan Museum stairs a potential immortal moment. Ryan saw it as his last chance to salvage his image. To him, the gala wasn't just a party. It was a stage to prove he still had class. He envisioned arriving with Chloe as a power couple, forcing envy instead of ridicule. Day after day, he called stylists, designers, even reporters. He hired a crew to leak behind-the-scenes prep footage. The penthouse turned into a fashion studio, strewn with clothes, fabrics, and camera lights. Chloe reveled in it, posing in mirrors, trying sequined gowns and daring cuts, muttering, "We have to shock them, babe. The world will remember us." Ryan nodded, but unease gnawed at him. He knew Emma would be there. Rumors spread fast. Daniel Hayes was a co-chair of this year's gala, and he'd attend with his partner Emma Parker. No doubt, it would be the grandest public debut a woman could have. Ryan sat in his dark office, twirling an unlit cigar. He recalled taking Emma to smaller events, where she'd linger quietly in corners, avoiding flashes. He'd scorned her restraint, thinking she lacked the glamour to match him. Now, that humility and strength made her the world's focal point. In Brooklyn, preparations were different. No flashing lights or camera crews filled Emma's brownstone. Just her and Daniel in the sunlit living room, reviewing a dress sketch from a famed Parisian designer who worked only for fashion legends. "No pressure," Daniel said gently. "You don't need to prove anything. Just be you. The world will see the rest." Emma smiled, hand on her belly. The baby stirred, as if in agreement. "I'm not afraid of the spotlight anymore," she said softly. "Not to show off, but so Leo knows his mom didn't fall. That from ashes, we can rise and shine." Daniel's eyes shone with pride. He touched her cheek. "You're already light, Emma. The gala's just where the world will see it." On the event day, Manhattan became a fashion whirlwind. Streets around the museum teemed with reporters and fans. Black limousines lined up, each unveiling a spectacle of extravagance. In the penthouse, Ryan stood before a mirror in a navy velvet tuxedo, satin lapels gleaming. He tried to smile, but his reflection looked strained, almost tragic. Chloe emerged in a silver sequined gown, slashed daringly, clutching a sparkling purse. She grinned, snapping a selfie. "Come on, babe. This is our moment." Ryan clenched his jaw, telling himself, "Tonight, I'll take it all back." But a voice whispered the truth he ignored. No staging could rival genuine love. In Brooklyn, Emma slipped into a deep green chiffon gown, its flowing layers embracing her 7-month pregnancy, not hiding but celebrating it as a miracle. A diamond necklace gleamed like a constellation. Daniel, in a classic black tuxedo, offered his hand. "Ready?" he asked. Emma looked in the mirror. Gone was the gaunt, broken woman of a year ago. Reflected was a queen, eyes blazing, posture proud. She took a deep breath, placing her hand in his. "I'm ready," she whispered. "Let's go." 2 cars moved in separate orbits to the gala, a gaudy rented Rolls-Royce carrying Ryan and Chloe, and a sleek, understated Bentley carrying Emma and Daniel. 2 worlds were about to collide, not just on the red carpet, but before millions of eyes. The Met Gala night. The Metropolitan Museum's grand marble stairs glowed under thousands of flashbulbs. The air was taut, every moment a dramatic debut of stars, politicians, and elites. Ryan's rented Rolls-Royce pulled up. Reporters turned, snapping perfunctory shots. The door opened, and Ryan stepped out in his velvet tux, a comically large bow tie undermining his attempt at grandeur. He held his head high, imagining he radiated power. Chloe followed, her silver sequined gown blinding, its bold slits overly revealing. She struck, poses pouting, chin-up snapping selfies on the carpet. But the unexpected happened. No one cared. Photographers took a few half-hearted shots before turning away, waiting for something grander. Calls for Chloe and Ryan drowned in the noise, as if they were mere passers-by at the gala. Ryan gripped Chloe's hand, leading her up the stairs. His heart raced, a voice screaming, "This is your last chance. Prove you're still worth something." Then the air shifted. From the carpet's end, a sleek black Bentley arrived. Cheers erupted, a wave crashing up the steps. Photographers swarmed, lenses trained, flashes bursting like fireworks. Daniel Hayes stepped out first. In his classic black tuxedo, he needed no flashiness. His quiet confidence silenced the crowd momentarily before igniting roars. He turned, offering his hand to the woman inside. Emma. The moment froze time. She stepped out in her deep green chiffon gown, flowing like a moving galaxy. Her rounded belly wasn't concealed but exalted, a symbol of life and resilience. Her honey blonde hair was neatly pinned, her eyes blazing under the lights. A collective gasp rose from the press, followed by a storm. "Emma! Emma! Look here!" "Miss Parker! Stunning!" Her name rang like waves crashing ashore. Daniel's hand rested on her back, his gaze not possessive but purely admiring. That look told the world this wasn't just a couple attending a gala, it was true love. Ryan stood frozen a few steps away. He watched Emma, the woman he'd belittled, now a queen hailed by the world. The flashes illuminated her, making Chloe beside him seem pale, cheap. Chloe hissed, irritated. "Why are they all shooting her? What about us?" Ryan didn't answer. Each cheer for Emma was a blade slicing his tattered pride. Emma and Daniel ascended the grand stairs. As they passed, Emma's eyes met Ryan's. For a moment, he braced for scorn, the triumph he thought she'd wield. But no. Her eyes held only quiet, profound pity. That look gutted him. It wasn't bloodless. It didn't say, "You lost." It whispered, "You're not even worth winning or losing anymore." Inside the museum, Emma was personally greeted by Anna Wintour and led to the central table of honor. Ryan and Chloe were relegated to a corner table, surrounded by TikTokers and reality stars scrambling for attention. No reporters turned their way. Amid the music, Ryan glanced at the central table, where Emma laughed radiantly, Daniel whispering to her, their eyes sparkling. The image seared like a final dagger. He lowered his gaze, his trembling hand clutching a glass. No amount of liquor could blur the truth. Tonight, before the world, Emma had been crowned. And he, the one who thought he'd upgraded, was left with only naked humiliation. The Metropolitan Museum's grand hall shimmered under crystal chandeliers. Whispers of the world's most powerful mingled with orchestral music, creating an air both elegant and tense. All eyes turned to the stage, where Daniel Hayes, the night's co-chair, was about to speak. Ryan sat at the corner table, among fading TikTokers and reality stars. His glass trembled, his eyes fixed on the center, where Emma glowed in the light. His heart pounded, as if awaiting his life's final verdict. Daniel stepped to the podium. Without grand gestures, his tall frame and quiet confidence hushed the room. He touched the microphone, his eyes sweeping the crowd, then resting on Emma. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice resonated, warm and resolute. "The Met Gala isn't just about celebrating fashion. It's about celebrating art, and at its highest form, art is the ability to turn pain into beauty, ruin into rebirth." The room stilled. Ryan gripped his glass, knuckles white. Daniel continued. "Tonight, I'm honored to be here not just as a man in the industry. I'm here as a man changed, inspired by the greatest artist I've ever known." He gestured toward the central table. The spotlight hit Emma. Murmurs spread, then silenced in awe. "Emma Parker," Daniel's voice rang, each word firm, "is a living testament to resilience. She's turned a shattered life into a masterpiece, a new garden, not just in design, but in her very presence. She's taught me, and all of us, that dignity is never lost. It waits to be reclaimed, and when it is, it shines brighter than ever." His tone softened, thick with emotion. "And tonight, I'm proud to say she's not only the world's inspiration, but my partner in life. With our son, Leo, she's given me a family, a reason to believe in the future." Applause thundered, a storm that wouldn't stop. Guests stood, gowns swaying, tuxedos brushing together in relentless clapping. Cameras flashed, capturing Emma rising, eyes teary, clutching Daniel's hand. Ryan sat motionless. The applause wasn't sound, it was a barrage of punches to his chest. He remembered mocking Emma, calling her a stagnant burden. He recalled her eyes as he packed and left silent, pained. Now, that woman was exalted by the world, while he sat sidelined, an outsider. Chloe leaned in, voice bitter. "I don't get it. What's so special about her?" Ryan didn't answer. He knew, though it cut deep. Emma had what Chloe never would: authenticity. She didn't pose or beg for attention. She simply existed, and the world bowed. Ryan's head dropped, eyes burning. Humiliation erupted, inescapable. He'd thought he'd left Emma for an upgrade. But now, before thousands of eyes, he was a fool who'd lost a treasure, left with nothing but a cheap shadow. Daniel raised a glass to close. To Emma, to women who've been underestimated but rise stronger, brighter, and to the truth. Genuine love always wins. Cheers roared. Emma smiled through tears, her gaze radiant on Daniel. In that moment, she wasn't just a woman loved, she was an icon. Ryan hid his face, knowing he'd witnessed his worst nightmare. The death of his ego, his reputation, and every illusion he'd built. The gala's orchestral music echoed, but Ryan barely heard it. His ears rang with the applause for Emma. The room blazed with her glory, while he shrank in the shadows of his corner table. Chloe scrolled her phone, posting selfies with desperate captions for attention. No one cared. The few comments under her posts were tepid, cruel comparisons stinging Ryan. "Wow, Emma Parker is a queen. Chloe looks forced? Ryan Pierce?" Nobody's noticing him anymore. Each word was a knife to his shredded pride. As the night ended, the crowd spilled out. Limousines lined up, leaving the museum steps. Ryan and Chloe were lost in the fringes, jostling among the departing. Ahead, a space cleared, and the black Bentley glided to a stop. Daniel stepped out, his eyes still alight with victory. He opened the door, offering his hand to Emma. She emerged, her green chiffon gown flowing in the night breeze. Flashes erupted, though the event was nearly over. The world craved one more glimpse of her. Emma, the woman once discarded, now an emblem of strength and elegance. Ryan froze, just meters away. He watched the scene like an outsider to an untouchable dream. Chloe tugged his arm, whining, "Let's go, I'm tired." But Ryan didn't move. And then, it happened. Emma turned, her gaze sweeping the crowd, landing on him. Time slowed. Ryan braced for anger, the scorn he thought she'd saved for him. He wanted it, needed it to feel he still mattered, even as her enemy. But Emma's eyes held no hatred, only a deep, quiet pity, as if she saw a sad, small man who'd lost himself. That look killed him. It didn't say, "You lost," it whispered. "You're not even worth winning or losing." Ryan's chest tightened, breath caught. In that fleeting moment, he knew. He was no longer part of Emma's story. He was a faint footnote, a minor scar in the opening of her radiant journey. Emma didn't linger. She gave Daniel a soft smile, took his hand, and stepped into the car. The Bentley's door closed, its engine humming softly. The car glided away, leaving flashes, cheers, and a broken Ryan frozen amid the crowd. That night, in the glittering but empty penthouse, Ryan sat alone. Chloe had retreated, fed up with his suffocating silence. His whiskey glass sat cold, cigarette smoke curling, but nothing blurred the memory. He opened his laptop. The first Met Gala article flooded the homepage. Emma Parker, the decade's most iconic red carpet queen. Her image in the green gown filled the screen, radiant, strong, her eyes touching the reader's soul. Ryan stared, his heart crushed. He slammed the laptop shut, clutching his head. For the first time, he faced the truth he'd dodged. He'd lost the only treasure he'd ever had, and he'd never get it back. In the Brooklyn brownstone, Emma sat by the window. Daniel held her from behind, his hand gently on her belly where Leo grew. City lights bathed her face, serene yet steadfast. "You did it," Daniel whispered. Emma smiled, gazing out. "No, we did it. And our son will grow up knowing his mother never fell." Outside, the city's hum faded. One chapter closed. A new, radiant one began. Emma's story doesn't end with red carpet glory, but with a gentle truth. Victory isn't making a betrayer suffer, but living a more beautiful, fuller life. Emma lost everything, yet from ashes, she rose, finding true love and a new family. The lesson is clear. Sometimes, the best response to those who belittle you is to let them destroy themselves in their own emptiness. And the greatest gift you can give yourself is to rise, rewrite your story, and become your most radiant self. What about you? Have you ever faced a moment where someone underestimated you, only for you to rise stronger? Share your story in the comments below. We want to hear it, and who knows, your story might inspire thousands. If this video touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Emma's journey is just one of countless tales of rebirth and karmic justice we'll share, and you won't want to miss what's next.
The grand doors slammed open, and a hush swept through the glittering Peninsula ballroom. All eyes locked on millionaire Derek Mason, his smirk carved in arrogance as he laced fingers with his mistress, Vanessa Lane, under the unblinking gaze of Los Angeles' elite. But when his pregnant wife, Lauren Harper, strode in arm with powerhouse CEO Caleb Reynolds, the chandeliers themselves seemed to quiver, as though bracing for the chaos about to ignite. In the next heartbeat, secrets would shatter, alliances would crumble, and Derek's empire would teeter on the brink of ruin. This is a tale of ruthless ambition, searing betrayal, and unyielding resilience that will hold you captive until the very last word. The chandeliers of the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills blazed like constellations, scattering diamonds of light across an opulent ballroom where the city's elite had gathered in silk and power. The Empower Tomorrow Gala, Los Angeles's crown jewel of charity, had transformed the space into a glittering theater. Beneath the shimmer, false smiles and shrewd glances wove a quiet web of intrigue. Derek Mason, 5-year-old tech millionaire, cut through the crowd in a tailored black tuxedo that clung like armor, wearing the assured smirk of a man convinced he owned the night. At his side, Vanessa Lane shimmered in a molten gold silk gown, her eyes gleaming with predatory precision. The crowd hummed, whispers flared like sparks, as Derek clasped her hand in full view, a move so brazen it felt like a gauntlet thrown. The peninsula's polished marble floors reflected the glow of white roses flown in from Napa, their fragrance mingling with the heady perfume of fine wine, yet the air thickened under the weight of stares. Derek basked in the scrutiny, his smile curled with arrogance. Vanessa, publicly labeled his media consultant, radiated something sharper, a story the city longed to confirm, a scandal smoldering just beneath the satin surface. The audience, from Wall Street tycoons to Hollywood royalty, stayed locked on the pair. Some hid shock behind crystal flutes. Others exchanged sly, knowing smirks. All felt the pressure drop, a storm massing at the edges of the room. Derek, who had wrestled a dying AI startup into a billion-dollar empire, was no stranger to spectacle. From the rough streets of Detroit to Silicon Valley's gilded boardrooms, he'd climbed with raw hunger and surgical cunning. Tonight, he meant to flaunt more than his fortune. He was announcing himself as a man untouchable. Vanessa, hair tumbling in chestnut waves, moved beside him like a queen beside her chosen king. Every fold of her dress proclaimed both beauty and ambition. Yet the unspoken absence of Lauren Harper, Derek's wife, now 7 months pregnant, began to ripple through the chatter. Had she willingly ceded the stage or been erased from it? Crystal rang as champagne glasses touched. Every laugh was lacquered with artifice. CEOs, celebrities, and philanthropists traded talk of markets and yachts, but their gazes kept drifting back to the stage. No one cared for the official cause more than they cared for the theater Derek was staging. Microphone in hand, his voice rolled smooth and deep, praising donors and reciting the gala's mission. But his eyes, restless, magnetic, kept returning to Vanessa as if she were the crown jewel in his empire. Applause rose, but beneath it pulsed a low current of tension. A few reporters scribbled, thumbs hovering over record buttons, ready for the detonation. Vanessa's smile never wavered as she tightened her grip on Derek's hand, staking her claim under the chandelier's glare. She knew she was the room's fixation, and she welcomed it. From her modest beginnings in Seattle, she had sharpened her beauty and intellect into social weapons. Derek was her ultimate conquest, the man whose hunger for attention mirrored her own. And yet, somewhere deep, a sliver of unease pressed against her ribs. The whispered name of Lauren Harper carried a weight she couldn't shake. Derek stood tall in the halo of stage lights, convinced this was the zenith of his story. An empire, a reputation, and a new image burnished by the woman at his side. He never saw the shadow moving closer, Lauren Harper, just blocks away, nursing heartbreak and fierce resolve, ready to step into the blaze with a secret that could fracture everything. In the peninsula's gilded glow, the night's beauty trembled. A scandal was breathing in the dark, waiting for its cue.
The annual wine gala at Sterling Vineyards, the event that Marcus always boasted was the pinnacle of his empire, unfolded on a sweltering summer evening in 2024, when the cracks in their marriage had already begun to spread like fissures on the parched soil under California's relentless Sunday. The atmosphere in Napa Valley felt more stifling than ever before, with hundreds of guests from Hollywood stars glittering under flashing lights to Wall Street investors with their calculated smiles gathering in the vast vineyard. The lush green vines twisted gracefully beneath sparkling crystal chandeliers, painting a picture of opulence, where echoes of laughter blended with the crisp clink of glasses, and the heady aroma of freshly fermented wine wafted through, like an invitation into the world of American success. But beneath that grandeur, tension simmered quietly, ready to erupt, like a sudden summer storm. Elena, in her elegant maternity dress hugging her body, tried to immerse herself in the festive vibe, but her heart was in turmoil from suspicions built over the previous weeks, the late-night calls, the fleeting messages that Marcus tried to hide. She wandered through the crowd, a forced smile on her lips, her hand unconsciously stroking her belly as if seeking comfort from the tiny life growing inside her. Then, in a secluded corner of the vineyard, where dim lights veiled hidden secrets, she spotted the scene that shattered her world. Marcus and Sophia Lang standing close together, chatting intimately, his hand resting lightly on her waist in a way that felt all too familiar. Elena's heart felt pierced by a razor-sharp blade, the pain spreading from her chest to her abdomen, forcing her to draw deep breaths to stay composed. The instincts of a pregnant woman, combined with the sensitivity of a scientist, propelled her forward, her voice trembling yet resolute, echoing in that confined space, questioning the ambiguous relationship. Guests around them began to notice, whispers rising like an undercurrent, turning a private moment into a public stage. Marcus, his face flushed red from wine and surging anger, spun around with a distorted expression, like a perfect statue suddenly cracking. His usual confidence vanished, replaced by the instinctive defense of someone backed into a corner. He growled vague justifications, trying to regain control, but his rage exceeded all bounds, leading to an unforgivable act. His hand rose, delivering a sharp slap to Elena's face with a resounding crack that left the entire garden in stunned silence for a moment. Elena collapsed onto the damp grass, her arms cradling her belly to protect the unborn child, tears streaming down her cheeks like painful dewdrops. The physical agony intertwined with emotional torment, like a fierce wave sweeping away every illusion of the American dream she had once believed in. In that instant, Elena keenly felt the fragility of happiness, and her fear for the child became the sole force keeping her alert. Someone in the crowd, with the instinct of the digital age, quickly filmed the horrifying moment on their phone, capturing it all unbeknownst to anyone. Within hours, the clip spread like a virus on TikTok, Twitter, now X, and Instagram, with the hashtag number Sterling Slap swiftly trending, drawing millions of views from across America. Viewers were shocked by the image of a millionaire assaulting his pregnant wife, comments flooding in with fury, from single mothers sharing personal stories to activists condemning the rot of the upper class, where wealth conceals vile behavior. Organizations protecting women, like the National Domestic Violence Hotline, spoke out vehemently, calling for boycotts, causing Sterling Vineyards stock to plummet dramatically on the exchange, wiping out millions of dollars overnight. Elena, lying in a hospital bed for fetal checks, watched the video with a shattered heart, her pain doubling as she saw herself become a symbol of victimhood. But deep within that despair, a flame of determination ignited, fueled by knowledge of Marcus's dark secret, the illegal vineyards, the origins of wealth violating environmental laws. Have you ever witnessed such betrayal? And how did it change your life? Share in the comments to explore the next part together. If you leave now, you'll miss an inspiring journey of justice. This part not only touches the shocking emotions of American audiences, where domestic violence is a burning issue often hidden in high society, but also evokes profound empathy for Elena as a symbol of women's strength. In American culture, where movements like Me Too have awakened millions, her story reflects the stark contrast between glamorous appearances and harsh realities, prompting viewers to reflect on justice and sustainability. Elena, from victim, is gradually transforming into a hero, with that flame of determination promising a spectacular comeback. The video of the slap, a horrifying moment that changed everything, spread like wildfire across social media, amassing tens of millions of views in just 24 fleeting hours, transforming Elena from a solitary victim into an icon of injustice that millions of Americans could empathize with. On platforms like X and Facebook, users flooded the comments with surging anger, denouncing Marcus Sterling as a hypocrite who preached about sustainable wine yet violently struck his pregnant wife, exposing the hypocrisy of the elite that American society increasingly despises. Environmental influencers,
Powerful voices in the green community condemned him fiercely, igniting the number boycott Sterling movement that exploded like a wave of rejection,
causing his wine sales to plummet a staggering 40%, proving the might of public opinion in the digital age.
But behind that storm, Elena was quietly preparing for a counterattack, where justice would transcend mere words. Elena, safely discharged from the hospital with her unborn child, mercifully unharmed by the physical shock, returned to the Napa Valley hilltop villa, no longer a silent victim, cowering in fear, as many women might. Instead, the flame of determination from earlier now burned brighter than ever, urging her to act with the clarity of a plant biologist accustomed to uncovering secrets hidden deep within the earth. She had long suspected Marcus's rapid vineyard expansion, those lush green fields that seemed too perfect to be true, and now, during sleepless nights poring over stacks of dusty documents, she dug deeper, uncovering a dark truth. He had illegally purchased agricultural land, skirting regulations to repurpose it, while using banned chemical fertilizers to boost yields, gravely violating the Federal Environmental Protection Act, EPA.
Those vineyards, symbols of Napa Valley's opulence, were silently poisoning local rivers, threatening the sacred ecosystem of America's wine industry, where biodiversity was being eroded by human greed.
Elena felt this pain, not just personally, but as a warning for the future, where her child's generation would face a ravaged California. With a heart still trembling from the sting of betrayal, Elena reached out to her father, Roberto Vasquez, a retired Mexican farmer who had taught her from childhood to love nature through simple cornfields and fruit orchards. Over a video call, his warm voice carried the strength of lived experience, reminding her that honesty is the sturdiest foundation, like tree roots gripping deep into the soil to withstand storms. Roberto, with hands calloused from labor, shared folk wisdom about the balance of ecosystems, rekindling Elena's childhood memories of learning to respect the land as part of herself. His support was more than advice. It was a wellspring of spiritual strength, helping her overcome the loneliness after the slap, transforming family pain into fuel for a greater mission. In American culture, where family values and heritage often anchor resilience, Elena was reconnecting with her roots to rise again. At the same time, Elena connected with Jordan Hayes, a renowned environmental journalist from The Guardian, who had successfully investigated major scandals, from oil pollution to Amazon deforestation. Jordan, with his sharp expertise and vast network, immediately saw the story's potential. This was not just family drama, but a battle for California's green future, where Napa Valley represents a billion-dollar wine industry now facing an environmental crisis. He pledged full support, from gathering additional evidence to publishing an article, turning Elena from an isolated individual into part of a larger movement where women lead societal change. This partnership sparked hope in Elena, inspiring her to envision a world where environmental justice triumphs over greed, touching the American spirit of freedom and planetary responsibility. If you're passionate about environmental stories, give this a like to show support. You'll regret missing how this alliance topples an empire. This part witnesses Elena's transformation from victim to hero, a journey that resonates deeply with the American spirit of justice and environmental protection, where individuals can spark waves of societal change. In a time when climate change threatens Americans daily, from California wildfires to eastern floods, Elena's story is not just drama, but a call to action, reminding us that honesty and support can turn the tide. She is building a formidable network, ready to confront Marcus and the greedy system he represents. Will this dark secret have the power to bring down his empire, or are there more surprises ahead? Elena, with the flame of determination now fueled by support from her father and Jordan, spent sleepless nights in the Napa Valley villa, where the long shadows of the vineyard seemed to whisper dark secrets, transforming her personal pain into an unrelenting hunt for the truth. She flipped through each page of aged documents, the glow of the computer screen illuminating her weary yet resolute face, uncovering the greedy veneer hidden behind Marcus's wine empire. She discovered that he had subtly bribed local officials, converting agricultural land into commercial vineyards without legal processes, using banned chemical fertilizers, those poisons seeping into the earth,
silently but lethally contaminating groundwater. His expensive wine bottles, once praised as symbols of sustainability and lavish parties, were actually products of bottomless greed, threatening biodiversity in Napa Valley, the sacred ground of America's wine industry, where thousands of plant and animal species were quietly vanishing under human hands. Elena felt this pain like an expanding wound, not just for herself but for the entire California ecosystem, where climate change was accelerating destruction. With devoted help from Jordan Hayes, Elena began systematically gathering evidence, turning her personal journey into a professional investigation where each piece was a step closer to justice. Jordan, with his sharp experience from major environmental scandals, provided her with satellite images from reliable sources, showing the illegal expansion of vineyards like sprawling scars on the Earth's surface, where land once meant for sustainable farming was now seized. Together, they analyzed water samples from local rivers, those crystal-clear drops laden with toxins, proving the spreading pollution threatening Napa's community water supply. And then, through internal emails Elena hacked with Jordan's technical guidance, Marcus's plot became clear: covert deals, secret money transfers, all painting a picture of an empire built on deceitful foundations. Elena, once a nature-loving plant biologist, now saw the painful contrast between the vineyard's verdant exterior and the rot within, igniting in her a fresh strength, ready to confront the system. Her father, Roberto Vasquez, flew from Mexico with luggage carrying not just love but a treasure trove of folk knowledge on organic farming, lessons passed down through generations that he had taught Elena since childhood. He arrived in Napa Valley, his steps firm on unfamiliar soil, bringing the essence of his homeland's fields, where crops were nurtured by hand rather than chemicals. He shared with his daughter ancient methods, using natural compost from decayed leaves, listening to the land's whispers to know when it needed rest, all like a reminder that nature rewards those who protect it, just as he had overcome droughts in Mexico through persistence and respect. Roberto's presence not only bolstered Elena's spirit but added cultural depth, linking Mexican roots to the American dream, turning her fight into a symbol of diversity and sustainability. In conversations by the window overlooking the vineyards, Elena drew strength from her family heritage, transforming the pain of betrayal into motivation to safeguard not just her child, but the planet's future. Marcus, sensing the storm of public opinion and investigation closing in, began panicking discreetly, attempting to negotiate and salvage his crumbling empire. He called Elena with a tone of feigned remorse, promising change, vowing to invest in clean farming to atone, but behind it was fear of losing everything from fame to fortune. Elena, now tougher than before, rejected that apology decisively, sensing he had struck not just her face but her trust and the very nature she cherished. Elena's heart, once shattered like a crystal wine glass crashing to the floor, now stood like a steadfast lighthouse in the storm, illuminating the path to justice, guiding her through the darkness of deception. That rejection was not just a personal act, but a declaration for American women, those rising against manipulation. Would you forgive such a belated apology? Let me know in the comments. Don't leave, because Marcus's reaction is about to lead to peak conflicts. This part builds tension subtly, with rich imagery like vineyards described as greedy green arms reaching out to seize land, emphasizing the contrast between outer beauty and inner destruction, touching the hearts of American audiences who cherish justice and environmental protection. Elena is on the cusp of becoming an icon of resilience, where individuals can alter systems, reflecting the American spirit of freedom and responsibility. This dark secret is not just about Marcus, but a societal warning, where greed threatens natural heritage. With irrefutable evidence gathered, Elena, now like a steadfast lighthouse guiding through the tempest, filed a complaint with the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and California courts, transforming her personal journey into a public battle for justice and sustainability. Those documents, satellite images, toxic water samples, internal emails were not mere dry papers, but the desperate cries of Napa Valley's nature, where rivers were being poisoned by Marcus's greed. Jordan Hayes, with the sharp pen of an environmental journalist, published a detailed investigation in The Guardian, exposing the full dark truth, sending shockwaves through American public opinion like an unstoppable tidal wave. The hashtag number Justice for Elena quickly trended on social media, from X to Instagram, drawing millions of shares from mothers, activists, and nature lovers, turning Elena into an icon of American women's resilience. Reputable organizations like the Sierra Club, with their mission to protect ecosystems, publicly backed her, offering experts and resources, emphasizing that this was not just a family matter, but a national wake-up call about planetary responsibility. Elena felt the strength from that community, like a river of confluence, turning her private pain into shared motivation for future generations. Marcus, seeing his empire teeter under pressure from the article and the complaint, launched a fierce counterattack, hiring top-tier Wall Street lawyers, specialists in shielding the elite from the consequences of their wrongs. They accused Elena of being hysterically pregnant, attributing her pain to pregnancy-induced hysteria, a classic tactic to belittle women, casting her as an unstable victim rather than a resilient hero. The strategy aimed to sway public opinion, sowing doubt about Elena's motives, much like toxic fertilizers seeping into the soil. But Elena stood unshaken. The community's support and solid evidence turned her into an impregnable fortress. In American culture, where the Me Too movement has taught people to recognize such manipulation, Marcus's response only fueled further outrage, causing boycott Sterling to spread wider, impacting his revenue and reputation. Elena, her heart still scarred from the slap, now saw the weakness behind her former husband's strong facade, pushing her to press forward. But Elena's father, Roberto Vasquez, took the stand in court with the sincerity of a Mexican farmer who had endured countless hardships, bringing the strength of his homeland's fields to defend his daughter. He recounted the pain he witnessed in Elena, from the horrific slap to her pursuit of truth, emphasizing that she chose the path of honesty despite facing loss, much like trees rising from barren soil. His testimony was not just words, but a symbol of enduring fatherly love, touching the core American value of family, where parents remain a steadfast anchor in life's storms. Jordan Hayes, from the sidelines, supplied additional evidence from anonymous sources within Marcus's company employees, once silent, now bravely speaking out, revealing further details of bribery and pollution. This collaboration turned the courtroom into a stage for truth, where each piece of evidence was a hammer blow shattering the veneer of deceit. Elena, listening to her father, felt the blood of her heritage coursing through her, turning pain into strength to stand firm against adversity. In the courtroom, Elena rose with unwavering resolve, her hand gently stroking her unborn child as a reminder of why she fought, declaring that she was protecting not just her own child, but every American child, deserving to live in a clean environment, untainted by the greed of past generations. Her words echoed through the chamber, touching the hearts of the judge and jury, transforming the slap, once a symbol of collapse, into a blazing beacon of awakening, igniting the American spirit of responsibility and hope. The crowd outside the courtroom roared in support, with environmental groups chanting slogans, turning the trial into a symbol of the green movement. Elena, with eyes gleaming with determination, sensed the transformation unfolding, from victim to leader of societal change. This part emphasizes fatherly love and community support, deeply resonating with the family values at the heart of American audiences, where stories of parent-child bonds and justice always evoke profound empathy. Elena is at the peak of her journey, each step a testament to women's strength in modern society, reflecting the American spirit of overcoming adversity to protect the future. The slap is no longer a wound, but a symbol of awakening, reminding everyone that environmental justice is a fight for all. With irrefutable evidence, Elena, a steadfast lighthouse in the storm, filed a complaint with the EPA and California courts, turning her personal fight into a public crusade for justice and sustainability. Her documents satellite images, toxic water samples, internal emails, were the anguished cries of Napa Valley's poisoned rivers, ravaged by Marcus's greed. Jordan Hayes' incisive Guardian investigation exposed this dark truth, sending shockwaves through America. The hashtag number Justice for Elena trended on X and Instagram with millions of shares from mothers and activists, making Elena an icon of women's resilience. The Sierra Club backed her, emphasizing this as a national call for planetary responsibility. Elena drew strength from this community, like a river merging streams, transforming her pain into shared hope. Marcus, his empire faltering under the article and complaint, hired elite Wall Street lawyers who accused Elena of hysterically pregnant instability, a tactic to discredit women, likening her motives to toxic fertilizers seeping into soil. But Elena stood firm, her community's support and evidence making her an impregnable fortress. In a culture shaped by number Me Too, Marcus's manipulation fueled outrage, spreading number boycott Sterling, crippling his revenue and reputation. Elena, scarred by the slap, saw his weakness, driving her forward. Her father, Roberto Vasquez, testified in court with a Mexican farmer's sincerity, recounting Elena's pain from the slap to her pursuit of truth, choosing honesty despite loss, like trees rising from barren soil. His words, a symbol of fatherly love, touched America's core family values, where parents anchor through storms. Jordan added evidence from Marcus's company insiders, now bravely exposing bribery and pollution. Their collaboration made the courtroom a stage for truth, each fact a hammer-shattering deceit. Elena, hearing her father, felt her heritage fuel her strength against adversity. In court, Elena rose, hand on her unborn child, declaring she fought for every American child's right to a clean environment free from past greed. Her words resonated, turning the slap a mark of collapse into a blazing beacon of awakening, igniting American ideals of responsibility and hope. Supporters outside roared, environmental groups chanting, making the trial a green movement symbol. Elena, eyes gleaming, sensed her shift from victim to societal change leader. This part underscores fatherly love and community support, resonating with American family values, where parent-child bonds and justice evoke deep empathy. Elena, at her journey's peak, embodies women's strength, reflecting America's spirit of overcoming adversity for a better future. The slap, once a wound, is now an awakening, affirming environmental justice as everyone's fight.
The storm had torn through Derek Mason's glittering empire, scattering shards of ambition and betrayal across Los Angeles's neon horizon. Yet from the smoldering ashes of the Peninsula scandal, a fragile light began to bloom, fueled by Lauren Harper's unbreakable resolve. Rising from nights steeped in anguish, she chose not only to mend her shattered heart, but to craft a new destiny. With her son Noah cradled close and steadfast allies at her side, she transformed her pain into a force of quiet power, stepping into a chapter rich with promise. Derek, once hailed as the embodiment of the American dream, now faced the stark silence of his own making, chasing redemption beneath the softer glow of a humbler dawn. Lauren emerged from the long shadow of betrayal as a living emblem of resilience. In a modest Santa Monica office, she founded Hope Haven, a sanctuary for expectant mothers in crisis. Beneath California's golden skies, she gathered young women whose voices trembled with untold stories, turning those gatherings into wells of strength. She offered them shelter, financial aid, and most importantly, hope, the very lifeline she had once yearned for in her darkest hours. Noah, with eyes that mirrored her own fire, grew up bathed in unwavering love, his laughter the heartbeat of her purpose. Every smile he gave her reaffirmed that she had chosen the path meant for her. Caleb Reynolds, the man who had stood as her shield at the Empower Tomorrow Gala, slowly became the keeper of her heart. Among the endless vineyards of Napa Valley, under a sun-drenched afternoon, their connection deepened, steady, profound, and without artifice. Caleb, still carrying the quiet grief of losing his wife, found in Lauren a partner who valued truth above all. Their wedding was small, held on a rustic ranch, absent of chandeliers or gilded crowds, yet filled with the warmth of family and Noah's joyous laughter. As the sun dipped into a crimson horizon, it marked not just a union, but the triumph of love over every wound. Derek, far from the roar of boardrooms, confronted the void he had long ignored. Stepping down as CEO, he retreated to Austin, Texas, where tree-lined streets and a slower rhythm forced him inward. In the dim light of a therapist's office, he unpacked the cost of his choices. The same ambition that had lifted him from Detroit streets to the pinnacle of tech now stood as a mirror to his deepest flaws. Taking a role at a small startup, not as a mogul but as one among many, he began to taste humility. His efforts to reach Noah came through handwritten letters and tender weekend visits, yet in the boy's gaze he saw the echo of Lauren and the irreplaceable life he had let slip away. The media, once feral for every twist of the scandal, shifted to celebrate Lauren's rebirth. Forbes and Vogue crowned her the woman who turned pain into purpose, while the hashtag number Hope Haven swept across social feeds, igniting thousands. Derek, no longer the headline, found quiet fragments of himself in fatherhood's small victories. Los Angeles, with its restless lights and unending dreams, bore witness to a story that closed not in vengeance, but in the healing grace of redemption. From the blaze of the peninsula's ballroom to the calm days in Napa and Austin, their intertwined paths became a testament to the redemptive power of love and second chances. Lauren didn't simply survive betrayal, she rewrote what it meant to win. And beneath California's eternal sun, walking hand in hand with Noah, she carried the unshakable truth: the future belongs to those who dare to rise after the storm.